Have you ever been on a website and just wondered, how does this all work? How does a click actually add something to your cart? Or how does a game know you just won? Well, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on JavaScript, which is the language that makes the web feel alive. We're going to go on a little journey, starting with just one single line of code, and see how that leads all the way to building massive applications. Let's get into it. So, just to give you a sense of how powerful this stuff is, think about this goal. It sounds kind of crazy, right? Building a site like Amazon from the ground up. But that's exactly the point. JavaScript isn't just for little animations and pop-ups. It is the engine behind the huge, complex websites that we all use every single day. So what even is this code we keep talking about? At its core, it's actually super simple. Think of it like a recipe. You're just writing down a set of instructions. The only real difference is that your kitchen is a computer, and that computer follows your instructions perfectly, exactly as you wrote them every single time. No questions asked. And here it is, your very first instruction. With just this one little line of code, alert, good job, you can make a pop-up box appear on almost any website out there. How cool is that? It's a real immediate result. Suddenly, you're not just a user of the web, you're actually talking to it. You're giving it instructions. Okay, that one line of code is pretty powerful. But here's the thing. JavaScript doesn't work alone. It's part of a team, a trio really. So let's look at the three core technologies that build basically every website you've ever visited. These are the three pillars of the web. First up, you've got HTML. If you think of a website as a house, HTML is the frame. It's the studs, the foundation, the roof trusses. It creates the actual structure and holds all the content. The text you're reading, the buttons you want to click, all of those basic building blocks. Next in line is CSS. So if HTML is the frame, CSS is all the interior design. It's the paint color on the walls, the type of flooring, the style of the furniture. CSS takes that raw structure that HTML built and it makes it look good. It controls all the colors, the fonts, and where everything sits on the page. And finally, this is where JavaScript comes in. It's the electricity, the plumbing. It's the magic that makes the house actually functional and alive. It handles all the interactivity. When you click a button and something happens, yep, that's JavaScript. It is the brains of the entire operation. All right, so now that we know where JavaScript fits into the big picture, let's open up the toolkit. We're going to look at a few of the fundamental ideas you'll use, not just in JavaScript, but in pretty much any programming language out there. These are the absolute essentials. Let's start with a real-world problem. You're shopping online, you click Add to Cart, and that little cart icon up in the corner changes from 0 to 1. You click it again, it goes to 2. How does the website remember that number between your clicks? How does it keep track? The answer is something called a variable. It's actually a pretty simple idea. Just think of it like a labeled box, or you can store a piece of information that you might need to use or change later on. That's it, a container for a value. And here's what that looks like in actual code. We write let cart quantity equals 0. All we've done here is create our box, we've slapped a label on it called cart quantity, and we've put the number 0 inside. Now, when you click add to cart, the code just finds that box, opens it up, and increases the number. It's as simple as that. Okay, that makes sense. But a product is more than just a quantity, right? It's got a name, a price, maybe an image, all sorts of things. We need a way to keep all that related info bundled together neatly in one place. And for that, we use something called an object. An object is kind of like a bigger, more organized container. It's like a box that has multiple little compartments inside, and each compartment has its own label. It lets us group all the different details about one specific thing, like a product, into a single tidy unit. And here's a perfect example. We've got our product object. Inside, it has two properties, a name, which is socks, and a price, which is $10.90. And here's a little pro tip for you. Developers often store prices in cents, like this, to avoid some weird decimal point math errors. So that $10.90 is actually $10.90. See? All wrapped up in one neat little package. All right, so we can store data, but how does a program actually make a decision? Let's take the classic game rock, paper, scissors. You choose rock, the computer chooses scissors. How does the code know that you're the winner? It does this using what's called an if statement, and this is the absolute core of how a program thinks. It works just like our brains do. If my move is rock and the computer's move is scissors, then I win. It's just a simple question that has a true or false answer, and that answer determines exactly what the code is going to do next. Okay, so we can store data in variables and objects, and we can make decisions with if statements. That's great. But how do we connect all this logic to the actual visual web page? How do we make things on the screen actually change? We do it through this thing called the DOM. That stands for Document Object Model. But honestly, the easiest way to think about it is as a magic bridge. The DOM is this special connection that lets our JavaScript code see every single thing on the web page. And more importantly, lets us change any of those things whenever we want. Let's break this line down. Using that magic bridge, the DOM, we're telling the document to find an element on the page, in this case, our subscribe button. Then we're targeting its inner HTML, which is really just the text inside the button, and we're changing it to say subscribed. That's it. This one line is exactly how a button can instantly change right after you click it. That's the DOM in action. We have covered a lot of ground here, right? We've gone from the simplest instructions all the way to changing a live web page. So now let's kind of zoom out and look at the path that all this knowledge creates, the journey from being a coding trainee to a full-on creator. This slide just lays out that learning path perfectly. You see, you don't jump straight into building Amazon. That's not how it works. You start small, with something you can manage, like that rock, paper, scissors game, to really nail down if statements. Then, maybe you build a to-do list to get good with variables and objects. Each project builds on the last one, adding new skills, until that huge final project doesn't feel so impossible anymore. And honestly, this is the most important thing to remember. Every single complex app you use, Amazon, YouTube, even your online banking app, it's all built from the same simple pieces we just talked about. It's just variables, objects, and logic, but combined and scaled up in clever ways. It's like building a massive, intricate castle out of tiny, simple Lego bricks. So there you have it. We've walked the path from a simple pop-up alert all the way to the blueprint for a giant like Amazon. You've seen the basic building blocks, and you've seen the incredible things they can create when you put them together. The only question left is, what are you going to build first?